We are live.
Yay! So excited to finally have you on. I have been talking about Miri for a while now, and she is really the expert in resilience and strength. Has written a book about it. We're going to get to that a little bit more, but I just wanted to introduce you guys to Miri because she is just someone super special. We met, months back. We were in a challenge together, and she's just a light, and she's a go-getter. She definitely makes stuff happen, and she just has a mission and a purpose. And I really felt like I wanted her to be on our platform today to give us tools to share with us things that she has learned, because she's been working with people, consistently for her whole life, but really specifically in this area of strength and resilience in the last couple of years. And she's got some really great nuggets she's going to share with us that I cannot wait for you to hear. And so without further ado, I just want to welcome Miri. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am excited to be here as well. It's so funny how the tables turn, because we met when I interviewed you, and I'll share a little bit with the group because it's important for people to be attuned. We have so many opportunities right now to meet incredible people. We did a challenge together, but there was 100,000 people on that same challenge. And it's interesting how we ended up meeting within that noise, right? Within that amount of people that were in the group. But I laugh. I always say, I see the Kintsugi in people, and I'll explain what Kintsugi is, but I see the gold. I feel like I have this, I don't know, I can smell it, and you attracted me right away. And I am so happy that I reached out, and you were so welcoming to speak to me and share your story with me. And I am forever grateful. I've been speaking to women who have been thriving after adversity for the last 2 years. I share many of the stories on my blog. And now, like you said, I wrote a book about it. But I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to share whatever you would like me to share with your following.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. I think just, in such a time as this, that we are facing great adversity on a global scale, what would you say is the main, consistent thread, maybe not the main, but a few consistent threads of characteristics that you see in resilient people? Because, this is something that you do. You interview women, weekly on your blog, on your show. So what have you seen that stands out to you? What are some characteristics of people that are overcomers?
Okay, so here is something that I find one of the most amazing things from my findings. But I want to go back and explain why I started doing those interviews. Okay. Because I just wanted people to understand that I'm not a coach per se. For 25 years, I did marketing and advertising. I worked with ethics and compliance. I did work with big pharma. I loved what I did, but then I went through adversity. And even though I am naturally resilient and strong, at that time of my life, I really didn't think that I could overcome. And I decided that I wanted to answer exactly the question that you just asked me. What do thrivers have in common? What do they do? Like, is there something that unifies them? Could I learn from them? Even though I was naturally resilient, because at that time of my life, I did not think that I could overcome, I needed to step up. I needed to become more resilient, right? I was really tested at that time. And what was fascinating was because I decided that I was going to interview only women. I have interviewed since then a few men, but because they asked me, but I really wanted to focus on women. But I wanted women from all walks of life. And I did not want to interview people that suffered trauma, a specific trauma, or went through a specific adversity, because there's probably things in common of all the people that went through a divorce, or all the people that lost a child, or all the people that lost a, has gone through estrangement, or whatever it is that it was their adversity. There are things in common between these people, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to interview people that had gone through different adversities, that are from different backgrounds, different religions, different ethnicities, different countries. Really, the only thing that they had in common is that they were women.
Okay.
And I wanted to, and it's interesting because therapists, and I'm very pro therapy, I think that people should go to therapy if they feel like they need it. I think that each person has to find their own ways, but I am definitely pro therapy. But what I knew, I said, I knew that I'm not a therapist, right? But I knew that I wanted to see the women who already had gone through the therapy. I wanted to see the women after, because a therapist,
the other side, right?
the therapist is seeing people through their process, through their journey. Some of them are lucky to see them through to a point where they found joy, but most don't. Most clients, most patients either stop, don't come back, or they don't fulfill what they wanted to fulfill. And some of them are lucky to go and see through people who really come and say, you know what, I don't need to come here anymore because I'm really joyful. But there is also the knowledge that they saw them through that whole path is different than just coming at the end. And I met the thriver, I met the person who already went through the whole thing, and we're just talking about the experience, and we're seeing what happened and what had transpired from a different perspective. So I wanted that. I wanted only women. And then I started the journey. I started what is the last 2 years of me speaking. And here is some incredible findings, is that it didn't matter the age, the ethnicity, the religion, the adversity. It didn't matter anything. The journey to joy was very similar. There were many things that all these women went through and did that were the same, even though the adversities were so different, even though their ethnicities or religions or backgrounds or ages were so different, the journey was the same. So to me, it was a roadmap. And that is why I decided that I had to write a book, because I figured if we took the top 10 steps that all these women took to find joy, that's a roadmap to joy. These women are not all naturally resilient. I have met women that took them 10, 15 years, that their mentality was very much of a victim. Life is not fair. I don't deserve this. It shouldn't have happened. And when you get stuck into that victim mode, it's very difficult to move forward, because in reality, what you're doing is waiting for somebody to come and save you.
Wow.
And nobody's coming.
Newsflash, no one's coming.
Nobody's coming. I'm serious, nobody's coming. Because, and I'll tell you why, because the process is the journey. The process to get out of that victim, that is what we're here for. So nobody's coming because nobody should come, because this is the job, is how are we going to get out of there? It's this process of growth. One of the women
awesome.
One of the women that I interviewed, she's amazing. She actually spoke live in my Heal with Gold group not too long ago. I don't know if you heard Aliza. She spoke about the suicide of her son. Oh. And I said to her, everybody likes to say that God only gives you what you can handle. But when I was really on the ground in fetus position, and you know what I'm talking about, like when the pain is so terrible, you don't agree with that. You at that moment you say, no, the pain is not what I can handle. It's beyond what I can handle. Yeah. And she told me something that made so much sense to me. She said, Miriam, God doesn't give you what you can handle. He doesn't. He gives you right outside what you can handle.
Mm.
The pain is the growth from where you are now to where you need to be. That's the journey. That's the pain. It's that growth. You're supposed to go through that, but it is outside what is comfortable. And that's painful. But that's the growth. And that's why nobody's coming to take you out, because you need to have that growth. You need to go through and experience and get out. And some of the women that I interviewed had a short process. You know, they were naturally resilient. They had the tools, they had the knowledge. I even think about you in your book, you know, all the meditation, all the gratitude, all of those steps. You were one of the women that I interviewed. You were the typical of the process that I talk in my book. You have done all of those things, and you talk about them in your book. And you had experience prior to that. You were in that world of introspection. And I think that introspection is something very important. Resilient people introspect. Resilient people are okay taking responsibility for their mistakes in the situation. And I talk about that in the book, because when we say take responsibility, people think it's a blame thing, but it's not. Taking responsibility could be how you react to something that somebody tells you. It could be how you react just by getting upset and angry. We can take responsibility for our reactions. We can see, okay, this reaction was not good. I didn't do it wrong. Somebody else wronged me. But I can take responsibility for my part. And that is how you keep introspecting and you keep growing.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit, because what you said is so profound. And I love that, you know, the pain is supposed to be there, because that is what's going to get us to the other side. That's where growth happens. And when we live, and I talk about this in my book too, is especially for young kids, you know, they're living in a world now, social media, swipe to the right, unlike this, defriend that, you know, unfriend here. Like there's such this immediate, we don't want to sit in pain, because there's so many tools that get us out of pain in a counterfeit way, right? Yes. And so now when real pain happens, they don't have the tools, they don't know what to do. And so they're turning to substance, they're turning to, you know, depression and like all these different things that are really hurting our society in a way that is just like, wow, on a global scale, right? And so I think, whoa, your message, your book is so needed right now. And groups like this, you know, I love being parts of groups with like-minded people. People are here because they want to learn, how do I get through this? There's a lot of grievers on this page. There's a lot of people that are going through, you know, challenging times. And so I think that modeling behavior where they have to see someone have that resilience, they have to see someone. I love the phrase you said, journey to joy. I think that's another book for you right there, Journey to Joy. I like that. I might steal it.
Judy, maybe we'll co-write it.
Hey, there you go. There you go. But that roadmap, I mean, that is so important, is that we've got to be that role model for other people. And if you just look at what's happening in the world right now, man, it is crazy. And so we need people to stand up and say, hey, it's okay to be in pain, and this is how you get through it.
So I'm going to tell you about that, but I just want to respond to Salud. Hi, Salud. Salud is amazing. She's definitely a thriver. She's a warrior. I mean, she takes it to a whole different level about being strong and resilient. So Salud is asking, how do you respond instead of reacting to whatever is on your path? And that's a very important question, because the personality of the person, each person reacts differently to things, right? There's people that are impulsive and they come out and they yell and they get upset right away. There are people that retreat. They become silent treatment, right? There's people that feel victimized. Like each person reacts to situations in different ways. So it's not a one, it's not a question that there is one answer, because for each person, the job that they will have to do to learn how to react differently is going to be different. The work is going to start by really understanding how they react.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's very important to write. In my group, we're going to have a whole writing in which you're going to be participating. But I find it that when you start writing how you reacted to something that you didn't like, and you keep taking note, you will see the pattern of how you behave. And then you'll be able to shift and pivot to a different behavior that you like more. So you need to know, how would I like to react if I was more calm, if I was more peaceful, if I wasn't impulsive? How would I like to react? And I have to tell you something, Saluda. I'm going to answer that to you because this was something, it's something that I worked very hard on. And I'll tell you why. Because my reaction was impulsivity. When somebody said something that got me very upset, I responded right away. I just responded. And it was like, and it was swift. It was to the point. It was blunt, because I can take blunt. So I was giving blunt, right? Mm-hmm. And I realized that it wouldn't work. You know, there were people that were reacting badly to it. It was creating more confrontation. My heart rate was going up. I was getting very upset. So I worked very hard on that. And the way that I worked was that when anybody did or said something that upset me, I wrote an email to myself, but as if I was writing to that person, yelling and getting everything out of my heart. And then I sent it to myself. When I pressed send, even though I knew it was coming to me and not to that person, so much of the steam was out. I was able to breathe. And then when I related to that person again, I was able to come in a completely different way. My relationships changed a lot. And it was something on how I handled my reactions to things, was write down or go to a room, speak out loud as if that person was there, but not go straight to that person. Or even if it was nobody's fault, right? If I had a problem in the business, then I wrote it as if I was mad. If I was mad with God, I wrote a letter to God that came to me. You know, I just got it out of my steam, so of myself. And then when I was able to relate to the things more calmly, each person will have to find their own way. Not everybody would like to write it.
Yeah, I love that so much, because that's so in alignment. You know, as a grief recovery specialist, we talk a lot about grief is energy, right? And we think grief is just death or divorce or something big. But grief is really, it's a unresolved, grief is undelivered communication. So what you did is exactly that. You're delivering the communication, because grief is energy. It has to go somewhere. Right. And sometimes it's toxic if you're delivering that communication in the heat of the moment to that person. You can't take it back. But if you're writing it to yourself, then you're getting that energy out. You're getting your heart rate down. You're getting your blood pressure down. And then you can be a little bit more calm. I love emailing to yourself. That is such a huge tip. And I hope people listen to that. And really, it's self-awareness. It's self-awareness.
I have to tell you something. Sometimes I go back and I read these emails, and I'm embarrassed. Truth. Yeah. Sometimes I was brutal. Yeah. It's just because, but if you read my book, you will see that there is a sentence that somebody told me, Miriam, are you a moron? And he was in my house when he told me that. And I was totally okay with it. I was unfazed. And then my family was like, wow, he didn't have to say that. And I'm like, no, it's okay. You know, he was trying to teach me something.
Yeah.
And I didn't take it personally. But the fact that I could take it doesn't mean that people could
exactly.
Take it. Not I wouldn't call anybody a moron, but I would say, you know, you were wrong, you were thoughtless, you know. It's those are very direct, and most people cannot handle it. But I want to go back to your question.
Okay.
Because you asked me something extremely important, and actually, I'm going to bring something to show. The idea that we don't have the time to sit in our grief, that we don't spend the time with what broke us. We're always trying to okay, fix it and move on. So my journey started when I was so sad. What I did was change careers. And the reason I changed careers was because I wanted to drug myself with business, with work. I'm an entrepreneur. I love to work. My business with compliance and ethics was doing well. And I was doing things fast because I knew everything so well. I said, wow, if I start something that I know nothing about, I'll have to study it a lot and do it and grow it. I'm going to be so busy, I'm not going to have time to feel my pain. So I used business as my drug of choice. There is no question. There's really no difference. This is what I did. And so I started a pattern of working between 15 to 18 hour days. And I built a brand of clothing from nothing. And the pain wasn't going away because the minute I stopped, if it was a Sunday, I started to work Sundays. Because the minute I stopped working, I started feeling that pain. And I didn't like it. I didn't like how it felt. So then I would be busy with something because your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. If you're hyper focused on something, you don't think about anything else. That doesn't mean that your subconscious is not suffering, that your body that you're not going to get sick because you're not dealing with it. So it's very important to deal. And things changed when I saw a video, and it was this young Thai man who who explained about the Japanese art of Kintsugi. And the Japanese art of Kintsugi, I'm going to show you, actually, this is a friend of mine's book. This is not my book. But you see this bowl? This is Kintsugi. So Kintsugi is when pottery breaks, the Japanese don't throw it out. They take the pieces together and then they mend it with gold. So he explains the art, and I saw the piece and I felt a strong connection to the piece. I felt, I'm Kintsugi. That's how I felt. So I started researching Kintsugi, and Kintsugi, it's a very specific process on how to fix the pottery. And one of the things is dealing with the brokenness. It is gathering all the pieces, because since they don't throw it out, you have to find every piece and you put it on a table, and it's like a puzzle. Wow. You need to figure out where the pieces belong to, and you have to plan, you have to make a plan of action of how you're going to put them back together. But you sit in it and you grieve for the broken and shatteredness of the piece. And it also shows you how, if you don't find a piece, what do you do if there is a piece missing? When I fell in love with Kintsugi, my wall is Kintsugi, my clothing line is Kintsugi, my book is Kintsugi. I'm all Kintsugi because I find it that as a visual and a creative person, when I understood Kintsugi, I understood the process of healing. And by the way, the actions that all these women that I interviewed took, they all fall into categories of fixing a Kintsugi dish. It's all hard. And I had to sit in my brokenness. I had to go back, even though I was working and I was working very hard, I had to go back and say, if I am Kintsugi, I have to go through all of the steps properly in order to become whole again. I'm going to look different, but I'm going to be stronger like a Kintsugi piece. I'm going to be more valuable like a Kintsugi piece, but I'm going to have to go back and start from the beginning and do a lot of introspection, is finding all my pieces, and start putting it back together. So yes, I really hope that that the West will, learn from the East, learn from the art, and sit in their brokenness and understand that you're supposed to feel the pain.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to sit in a prolonged manner in the pain, but you're supposed to sit in the pain. And then you're supposed to put the pieces back together and make it better and bring in gold. And then you have to search for what's the gold for you. And the book helps a little bit with that.
Yeah. I love what you said about after you're done, you're actually more valuable, right? And
Yeah.
I think we have this misconception that when we're broken, we're not worthy, or we're not enough, or we're flawed and something's missing. When in essence, really, those are the pieces that make us more valuable, right? More wisdom, more life experience.
Yes.
More, you know.
Just so you have an idea, a kintsugi piece, this is what I wanted to show you. A kintsugi piece, if it falls again, it will not break where the gold is if it's properly fixed.
Wow.
Because those areas are much stronger than before. And you can buy a piece of ceramics for $5, anywhere. After it's fixed, it's hundreds to thousands, depending on how many breaks. It just shows you. I mean, everything about Kintsugi teaches, like, what people that mend themselves back together, wow, they're heroes. That's why I love being around thrivers.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I love this. I can talk to you all day, and I know we have a limited time. I'm going to ask you, in such a time as this, where, it's 2020, been a crazy year, that's the understatement of the year, right? And it just keeps getting crazier. We're in October, and at this point, like, we really have no idea. At this point, anything can happen, right? And I think people are feeling weary, like they're kind of hanging on with the little bit of strength that they had. And then it was like one hit after another hit after another hit. And so what kind of advice could you give us as far as, like, how do we kind of rejuvenate to find that resilience again, going forward when we've taken so many hits this year? So just kind of in a practical sense, like anybody that's watching this.
So I'll tell you what I do. For me, is very helpful. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to be grateful. And what I mean, it's in the gratitude, but I'm going to tell you why I'm saying people don't know how to be grateful. Because you ask people, what are you grateful? I'm grateful for waking up. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for my family. I know you're grateful for these things, but you're not going around your day thinking, oh, I'm breathing, right? Those are the big things. It came to a point where we take that for granted. Well, I woke up and I was breathing before COVID. Now I'm waking up and I'm breathing after COVID. It was much better then than it is now. So I'm not so grateful that I'm up and about. I was more grateful then for the same reason. Yeah. The trick to work gratitude for us, right, in a way that it's going to keep us strong, keep us resilient, is to go through our days looking for the tiny, tiny blessings, the tiny, tiny things that you would not pay attention to otherwise, and make a point to talk about them, write them down. I write them down. I have a book and I write every day. I write 5 things that I'm grateful for. I write 10 dreams, and I write my big goal for the year. But they cannot be big things. They cannot be, I woke up, I have family, I have my children. That's not. I am happy that I found a parking spot right in front of the doctor's office, and it was a shaded spot, and there were no birds pooping in my car. That's specific.
Right.
Because what happens is that you start paying attention, because we don't realize how many blessings we have in our lives. Mm-hmm. But when you have a deal with yourself, I am going to write every morning what I was grateful for on my previous day. You better remember, you better pay attention, because otherwise it comes in the morning and you don't have what to write because you didn't pay attention and you forgot what happened yesterday. Yeah. So when you make a commitment to write down what you're grateful for, and it cannot be big things, only tiny things, you'll start realizing that our lives are filled with blessings. Let me tell you something. When I think about the fact that I still managed to pay my mortgage through all of this, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And so then I'm so blessed, right? Like if I manage to pay a doctor's bills, and we have a lot, it's a blessing, because how did I manage? It's a miracle. But
Yeah.
you have to pay attention. You have to really go dig deep and learn how to be grateful to make
Yeah.
it work for you.
Yeah, I love that so much. And, part of my give principle is gratitude is part of that. So that is a huge thing. I think what we focus on expands, right? So when you focus on the little things, then you find more things to be grateful for. When you focus on the complaints, guess what? You find more things to complain about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm part of so many grief groups right now of people losing their families to, addiction, to overdoses. And it's heavy on my heart because all it is people just really grieving, complaining, sad and angry, and which those are all very valid things. And I'm not judging the emotions, but when you're focused on that, like it's very depressing. And so I have to put myself in groups with people that are thrivers, people that are survivors, people that want to, make a difference in the world, because otherwise we're just going to pull each other down. So if I can share too, just for people to be really aware and careful of what they're surrounding themselves with right now, because it's going to either pull you down or it's going to help catapult you higher. And I love, being with you, because I feel like you're that type of person for me that just helps to sharpen me. It challenges me. It helps call me higher. And I just love, everything that you're about, everything that you're doing. So let us know what's coming up for you next and how can we find you?
I just want to say something before I go into
absolutely
my self-promotion.
Yes.
There were a few things that you wrote in your book that made an impact in me, in my life. And I wanted to share those things because, you put out something to the world and you don't know how it affects other people. You write those words, they come from your soul. And it enters people's souls, and I want you to know that. So I took out a few things that really meant a lot to me. You wrote, no matter what happens, I will fight for my son. No matter what happens, God is fighting for me. And that was very strong. It made a huge impact on me, because we're fighters, but there is somebody fighting for us. And if we remember that all the time, that we're also somebody's child. Am I making you emotional?
Yes, it's okay. You know me, I'm a crier.
So it gives us comfort that, and I actually even write in the book that the concept of hurting a child, right? Like not hurting a child, but for example, a child runs into the street. You're afraid that a car is going to hit the child. You pull the child really strong. I mean, the arm could come out of the socket, but you're doing it because you know it's going to save the child's life. A lot of the things that happen to us in our lives is exactly that. And we feel that we're not loved by God, but the truth is that he may be pulling our arms out of the socket because he's just taking us to the place where we belong.
That's awesome. That's so good.
I just wanted to share that with you because it meant so much to me. And I wanted you to know the impact that your words have in the world are bigger than what you know and that you will never ever know. And that is why I also wanted to write a book. So you asked me what's next. So this is a mock-up, but this is my book, Heal with Gold, and 10 golden nuggets to find to heal your mind and soul. So the book is a little bit about the stories of women like you that I interviewed, and how I found that the 10 top things in common between all the women that people can apply into their lives today. What's the connection with Kintsugi? And just, help women to feel a little bit more joyful, because this is what we're looking for, to become more joyful, to live a joyful, peaceful life. Until the book is live on Amazon, I'm not making any money. I'm actually losing, but I'm not making any money from the sale of the book. Every book purchased, I'm giving a book to a woman in need. So it's up. It's gonna go on. This was my birthday gift to myself.
When was your birthday?
It was September 22nd.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I figured I wanted to do something like that. So every time there's a purchase, a pre-purchase, I'm like, oh, another woman is getting it. And that makes me very, very happy. So if you want to find out more about the book,
we'll link it on here.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll link it on here. Yeah. I definitely want all of our people following and watching to have access to that. And it's such a gift. And I'm emotional because it's very humbling to know that your words are reaching people that you would have never imagined. And and I think about, part of resilience is just not giving up. Part of resilience is just keep going, even though the doors are closing in front of you. And I can't tell you how many times I almost didn't write this book because of fear, because of insecurity, because of, oh my gosh, who am I? And why is anyone going to want to read my story? And so to hear that just makes me so grateful, because I'm just grateful that it's out in the world. And I'm so grateful that your words are going to be out in the world, because I have no doubt that your words are going to touch people all over the world. And it's needed at such a time as this more than ever. So it's been an honor to have you. I'm sure that everyone has just really gleaned so much wisdom from you. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to email myself so that I can, keep myself in check. But so many great nuggets. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this again and take notes. But I just appreciate you. I am so grateful for our friendship, and I cannot wait to cheer you on as an Amazon bestseller. And we can one day give each other a nice big hug when we see each other in person. So
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, bye, you guys. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you soon. Okay.